one of my favorite people during that time was Thurgood Marshall, because he actually went into the courtroom and obliterated these lawyers and got these laws to be passed. I feel like he was neutralized when they put him on the Supreme Court. And he even made a statement when he was on the Supreme Court. The Ku Klux Klan used to wear white, meaning that some of the judges on the Supreme Court with him at that time he felt were as racist as any Klansman. Which, you know, surprise, surprise. I mean, what else is new? So, he's one of my favorites. I also have I like Martin Luther King, and I have definitely a love for Malcolm X, Elijah Muhammad, Marcus Garvey, Noble Drew Ali. Noble Drew Ali and Marcus Garvey weren't during that time, but Elijah Muhammad, Malcolm X was. And so I grew up admiring all these people, and then of course the Black Panthers, who've been vilified and demonized by the press. But what people don't realize is the Black Panthers are responsible for the breakfast program that's all over the United States now. It started as a Panther program. So I really have a soft spot for them too as black leaders. And if you look at the COINTELPRO, you can Google that. It shows how the Black Panthers were demonized and vilified and assassinated. They assassinated Fred Hampton. They assassinated several others. Just straight up killed them because they were having influence not only in the black community but throughout the American community. See, the Black Panthers, people don't realize, were actually an inclusive organization. They would never into a hate white thing. That's the problem they had with some of the other organizations. They wanted to include whites in their quest for struggle. So those were some, but I think now it's a point where every man, every woman is responsible. I'm a big proponent at this point of personal responsibility, that we all have to make it to be our best, and then we can unify. So first you have your family, you unify within that family. Can you get along with your son, your daughter, your mother, your father? That's sometimes a big challenge, your brother, your sister. So the first thing is unify. First, actually unify within yourself. Get yourself together, love yourself, love your family. Then you stretch out. Now if you have another family and you can link up with another family, you're beginning now to build a community. Once you build that community, then you have a force to be reckoned with. But as far as everybody getting together, I think those days are over, because we're not a myopic community. We all have different thoughts and different ways of thinking and different frames of references and different value points. But we do have some things in common. Where we have a common ground, I think we should come together, and come together financially, and come together spiritually where we can, and get our community uplifted. I mean, you know, you look at the Indian American. They have a community, and you don't see Negroes having stores in their communities, but you go to a black community, you see Indians. You see Arabs, they have an Arab community. You don't see Negroes having a store in the Arab community, but you see Arabs in our community. And so et cetera, Chinese, Japanese, whatever you want to say, they're all in our community, but we're not in theirs. So I think one of the first things we need to do is somehow, and I don't have all the answers, get control of the economics of our community. Stop making everybody else millionaires and make ourselves millionaires. Like in the Jewish community, my father used to tell me the dollar would go around about 8 times in the Jewish community before it left that community. So the butcher, the baker, the tailor, they would all support each other within that community. In the black community, it usually just goes right out, goes in your hand and goes right out into another community. Now the footnote on that is that prior to quote-unquote integration, every town had a thriving black community. that was very economically sound. You had black doctors, lawyers, you had black bakers and butchers and pharmacists. So the money did stay in the black community at that time. Now, and I'm not an advocate of separation, but I am an advocate of economic empowerment. So I think that there's a balance to get that thriving black community back. Now, I make an effort to spend money in my community, but I do like good service and good product. So the business owners want to make sure they provide first-class service, and then the consumers want to make sure they just maybe go an extra block, pay an extra dollar, whatever it is, and support that business. I'd like to see that. I'd like to see that happen, and I'm actually seeing that happen now. As the youth, like my son and some of his friends are entrepreneurs that develop their own business. Many of them are getting into crypto and on the stock market. I wasn't even thinking about the stock market at that age, in my 20s. But some other communities were. But now we as a people are becoming more abreast. Because the bottom line is, we want to be functional and productive members of the society in which we find ourselves. Regardless of the injustices that have been done in the past and are still being done in many cases now, we want to be productive and functional members of the society in which we live. Forward ever, backward never.